Macy. Arr.
Arr! You squashbuckling scallywags. I wanted that like a fish.
Yeah, Macy, that didn't make the playlist. Get a scallywag on 3. 1, 2, 3. Scallywag. I present Macy.
Hello, everybody. Ahoy, mateys. Welcome. Well, we are gathering here today to celebrate the life of Myrl Jeffcoat, my grandmother, or Nana. Hello, I'm Macy. I'm Jill's daughter, so I'm Myrl's granddaughter. I know most of y'all, but another introduction just for fun. We come here together today to remember her, to honor her, and most importantly, to comfort each other. To know my Nana Myrl was to know a force of nature. While Nana did not follow one specific creed, she was a very spiritual soul, connected with her life, the life of the earth, and the life of those around her. In her paperwork on her directive, she said that she believed all religions hold common truths, and I think that was a really beautiful statement. She felt connected to a lot of different beliefs and a lot of different important messages, and she found a way to live a life of meaning, of joy, of connection, in her own unique way. We all gather today as family. Whether or not we're connected by blood, we're family. One thing my grandmother taught us all is the importance of relationships and how to navigate the complications of them with grace and kindness. She was our matriarch in every sense of the role. She guided us, she cared for us, she cooked for us, she taught us, and most importantly, she loved us. And she always showed up. No matter what, she would be there for you when you needed her most. Nana's family grew and grew, and even while all the members are not family by blood to her, they're family in all the most important ways, because of the care and the love that she showed everyone who came into her life. To start us off, I'd like to share a message from a grimoire book that I found in her house while we were cleaning it, that I thought would be nice to share with everybody. So this was from one of the books at Nana's house that I thought kind of brought everything together really nicely. There's not much that can lessen the terrible loss felt when someone we love dies. No matter our faith, we find ourselves questioning all that we believe about life, death, and the immortal soul. Sometimes, in the shadow of death's reality, all our words and ideals seem shallow, at least for a brief moment. As we grapple with the inner questions, there are many different emotions playing in our minds, ranging from guilt to relief. All in all, it can be a very confusing experience. Just as in nature, energy is never destroyed, it simply changes shape. When we are faced with death, we must eventually recognize that change and allow ourselves to let go. I know that this personal release sometimes comes from buckets of tears, a period of numbness, and a lot of talking, and through the support of family and friends. That is why funerals are important for the psychological well-being of those left behind. So we perform the ceremony of the funeral for the benefit of both the living and those who have passed on, in order for both to be free and move forward with their journey. So now I gather us all here today to celebrate her, and I'm going to invite a few people to come up and speak. And first, I have my mom, Jill.
Woo! It has been through all of this, the time with all of you during this very difficult time, that those silver linings of relationships and the village really have shined through, and it's brought a lot of lift. So, now what I was really going to say, and I do want to start by saying, I'm not here to be clever. That was Mom's job. Actually, I think Mom, she probably already always considered herself a work in progress, but she never looked like it. She prided herself in always being ready. Hair, lips, eyebrows, liner, always put together just right and camera ready. She would not go out unless these things were in place. And for everything else, there was Photoshop. She was so smart, so sharp. Her incredible sense of curiosity drove her to be an excellent investigator and researcher, not knowing something really gnawed at her. She never gave up until she had learned everything she could about something and explored it all. Whether it was researching the genealogy of a family member or a stranger, launching herself into the computer generation, which she did in middle age and excelled at throughout her years beyond mine, or trying to figure out what's wrapped up in that box under the Christmas tree. She had to know things. Mom couldn't help herself with gifts. She always had to sneak a peek or try to outwit you into telling her what it was. Who knows what I'm talking about here? Yeah.
Good guesser.
It was always a game. One year I decided I was going to outwit the fox. So for Christmas, I bought her something she would never guess, and I had it can wrapped. Okay? I had this done in an obscure location at the mall, and I bought it early. I put it under the Christmas tree several weeks before Christmas. There was no way she could sneak a peek at this one. There was no way she would be able to guess what I got. And I put it under there, and it stared up at her, taunting her. She begged me for hints every day for a week. And then she stopped begging, stopped asking, and I thought to myself, I did it. I totally won. There was no way she could guess. This is it. So Christmas morning came. It was time to open the gift. She picked it up, shook it, looked at me with those beautiful blue eyes, opened it, and pulled out a lingerie. Smiled. She wasn't surprised at all. It did not surprise her that her 20-something daughter gave her a negligee. Why wasn't she surprised? It was can wrapped. After a while, she sheepishly admitted that curiosity had gotten the best of her. You knew it would. She opened that can a week prior. Here was the problem. She then figured she would just put herself into that cute little red Mustang and drive back down to the mall, have it re-can wrapped. The can wrap station was gone. So she took that little red Mustang all over town, all of the malls, until she finally found the perfect one that had not just a can wrap station, but the correct label on the can. So, and she shared with me in that moment that she was telling the person who was can wrapping it for her about her misbehavior, and they looked at her and she hands them the thing to put in it, and they're like, "Your daughter gave you a negligee?" Like that was the least of the story to her. Anyway, she and I, we rolled in laughter that day, and honestly, I think I gained a little bit of her respect. My relationship with Mom evolved a lot throughout my life. When I was young, she was an excellent and attentive caregiver. She was a nutritionist. Who would forget those protein shakes? She was my first teacher. She was a dogged advocate for my learning, for all of her kids' learning. She was always looking for ways to facilitate opportunities for us, especially in swimming and in school. And as time passed, she grew to become my mentor. She modeled through her own actions the importance of being a strong, independent woman. She never shied away from expressing her honest opinion, but doing it in an eloquent fashion. When I was 20, as I was about to graduate from college with the very useful degree of photography and dance, Mom suggested maybe a real estate license would be helpful. Maybe you should get your real estate license, in the off season before you graduate. And I thought, well, okay, I'll do that, right? And having that real estate license and then going into that field opened the door of business for me. And it laid forward a path that eventually led to me being at Franklin Templeton, where I've been for the past 30 years. While being there, I really have tried to emulate what Mom taught me. Grace, firmness, strength, and choosing your moments when to be appropriate or maybe when not to. Earlier in life, the words "I love you" were rarely spoken. It happened, but it was rare. But in these past few years, Mom and I, we became closer and the words flowed freely. She came to understand how meaningful it was for me to hear it. And at the same time, I grew to realize that she was telling me she loved me all along through her acts of kindness and sacrifice throughout my life, many of which went unnoticed. And Mom's true love language was
Food.
Man, that really improved throughout her life. There was a lot of improvement, especially in the more recent years. And she did not know how to cook in small batches, right? By the way, you'll all be taking home food today. Courtesy of her. I think she loved food more than any other human being. Like other things in her life, it drove her to learn and improve, and she really became quite an amazing cook. Through the past decade, relationship with Mom grew into something that was truly special, a really special friendship. We had fun together, going to concerts in the park, cooking, floating in the pool, talking, and just being together. We became true friends, more than friends. We built a deep trust that transcended being mother and daughter. Our bond also included Macy, and the three of us, we were a pretty good team. Go Team K. Go Team K. It was through that trust that Mom allowed us to take care of her in her last days and moments of her life, which has been our greatest honor. And now, she is truly on vacation. I'm on vacation for Mom. That wasn't just a funny quip. It was her state of mind. She had a gift of finding contentment and choosing happiness wherever she was. She taught me to do that, and it has been a tremendous gift to me. She had a way of seeing beauty that other people overlooked. I think that's a part of why she was such a brilliant photographer and writer. She was trying to get us to see the world in the same amazing way that she was seeing it. And at the same time, she was bearing her own soul. Vibrant, full of love, full of life, beautiful, one of a kind. Yeah.
Mama.
Thank you and your mother for your loving eloquence. Don't be disappointed by it. I have a poor memory, but I make good notes. I have a short prayer for her. Each of you may join in. Our Heavenly Father, we pray for the repose of the soul of Sister Myrl And we pray that you give your grace and your love to her as she awaits the resurrection and life in the world to come. Myrl Carlene Heady Jeffcoat. How do you hold a moonbeam in your head? You know where that's from. She played the piano. She played the cello. And she delivered 4 beautiful children into the world. She loved and treasured her friends, her relatives, and her grandchildren. And she knew how to ride a motorcycle, drive a speedboat, and how to ski on water and snow. She was my friend for 79 years before she passed away. Our divorce nearly 4 decades ago did not end our friendship. She excelled at writing and was an influential speaker at community meetings. Nobody wanted her pointed at them. Myrl used her sparkling personality to conceal her intellect. She had a mind like a steel trap, but was always kind in her use of it. Myrl completed Sacramento High School in, 2.5 years? By taking extra classes, what they call early day classes. And she promptly went to work for a real estate company. I think she was, 17 years old?
Oh, what?
When she went to work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was a very independent person. She had interest in pottery, gardening, art. She loved her cats. I'm going to borrow words of a eulogy given by the director John Huston. Those of you who are too young to know, he directed all the famous movies. This was for Humphrey Bogart. This fits an interesting side of Myrl's personality. It goes like this. In each of the fountains at the French palace at Versailles, there is a pike, which is an aggressive game fish, which keeps all the carp active. Otherwise, they would grow over fat and die. Myrl performed a similar duty in the fountains of her life and her world. Yet her victims seldom bore her any malice. Her actions attacked only their outer layer of complacency. She is quite irreplaceable. There will never be another like her.
We were 12. I had just moved into the neighborhood. She was the first one to welcome me and my family. We were friends for 70 years. Myrl was smart, funny, generous, kind, and ready for the next adventure. We shared many life experiences as neighbors and friends. And I'm going to tell you a couple of stories that were when we were young, because I know a lot of you have known her for a long time, but probably not many of you for 70 years. So often you could find two of us at the Oak Park Theater enjoying a movie. On one occasion, we found a feral kitten next to the theater, and Myrl said, "We have to save it." And so we took it home. The silly thing had 6 toes on each foot and lots of fleas, as did Myrl and I. Not the toes, but the fleas. Most summers, we would spend our days at the swimming pool, where popcorn was 10 cents. We were both rather thin. Actually, you could put us together and maybe get 100 pounds. So you won't be surprised when I tell you that we were very jealous when the Heard sisters moved in down the block, and they were very buxom. This led to an idea that Myrl would tell very differently if she could. We decided we could not be outdone by the buxom Heard sisters. So we bought bust falsies to put in our swimsuits. We came out of that pool dressing room feeling rather full of ourselves, which was soon deflated. She dove into the pool, and when one of the falsies came to the top before she did, I knew the jig was up. Myrl flew out of the water trying to grab the floater, which was not cooperating. Finally, she captured it and headed for the stairs, but all was not exactly right as of yet. The other falsie had slipped down in her suit and was lodged somewhere near her belly button. She was mortified, and I was of no help, laughing hysterically and heading for the dressing room. She was a great cook, and I am the microwave queen, so I know a good meal. She was a wonderful photographer, as you heard. She would post her pictures, and many of you would have seen them on Facebook, and it was almost like you were there. She just had that ability to capture the beauty in all things. She was a talented writer, and for those of you who have seen her obituary, and I hope you all have, that she wrote, it just says it all when you read it. Her descriptions of everything were just, you could always feel them when she would describe things. She was just so great at that. She had a gentleman friend named Ray for many years. When I asked her about him recently, she said he was ill, and they only talked on the phone now. Then she added, quote, "I've actually been waiting for George Clooney to divorce Amal and marry me." Oh God, what a character. She loved her family and shared many of their gatherings on Facebook. Whenever they would pop up on my computer, I could hardly wait to enjoy them and see what she was up to. Her children, Randy, Jill, Tammy, who's my goddaughter, and Valerie, were very lucky to have such a spirited and joyful mother to show them the many joys that life has to offer. Last year, Myrl, John, and Pat came to our home in Auburn, where we shared food, wine, and laughter. She brought her pickled beet salad, which was delicious. I actually made copies of the recipe for you, but the best part was her note at the bottom. By the way, there's the copy of the beet salad recipes over there for all of you to take. What she said was, quote, because I asked her for the recipe and she sent it to me. "Sorry, I don't use measurements. I just start throwing things in the pot." So I have to tell you that my beet salad did not taste like hers. Apparently we were throwing different amounts. So I read a few years ago an article, and in the article it said that everyone dies twice. And I thought, well, that's an interesting thought. The first time it said was when your heart stopped. The second time is when people quit talking about you. And I think it's just so true. So today, we will go out and we will spread her words, her photographs, her ideas, the wonderful person that she was. And I think that's just an honorable thing to be able to do. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Myrl's son, Randy. I'm going to sit here before I fall down. I couldn't really put together a coherent thought, so I have some notes here. We'll see what I can come up with. But one thing for sure, and I'll need to tell everybody here that I had a fun-loving mom. She was always fun-loving. She was kind and never strict with us as a kid. And I remember there was 3 of us in the court where we grew up. She had her hands full. And one day, let me see what it says here. Oh yeah, I was a question asker. I was a question answer, and she had her hands full. It was with the 3 of us, and she was always keeping us busy with ballet and swimming and whatnot. But I was a question asker, and I don't know if you ever get on Google and ask a question and get that AI answer, and you get into a feeding frenzy. Okay, well, what about this? What about that? What about this? I was like that as a kid. And if I asked a question to my mom, I'd ask another question about the question. It would never really end until I got it. And one day she says, I asked her another 100th question for the day, and she said, "Oh, Randy, I don't know." And I thought, oh, I just gone that one step too far. But she was always kind, never strict, had never harsh words. Not that one really deserved. You know, she tried to get me to go to a ballet class when I was a kid. My mom was an imaginative person like me. I didn't have an imagination. And she imagined that I was going to be Edward Bellella, this ballet guy. I think my friends imagined that I was going to be a sissy. So I didn't want to do the ballet for too long. And so I had a real ballerina as my ballet instructor. She was French. And she called me her little escargot. That means snail. I'm slow moving. But Mom wanted me to be a ballerina. I didn't want to. Then she got us into swimming, and that was fun. She always kept us busy. Yeah, the cooking. Jill made a good point. She wasn't always into cooking. In her last 20, 30 years, she hardly did anything but cook, it seemed like, when we showed up over there. When we were kids, she cooked all right. She got it done. But, she was a great mother, really kind and loving and caring, and took us all kind of places, swim meets and stuff. But cooking wasn't really her thing. But she always had a big pot of mustaccioli. I don't know if you know what that is. It's like penne pasta with pasta sauce. And she always kept a pot of mustaccioli handy in the fridge. One time when I was about 18, there was another time I took her for granted. I kind of got tired of mustaccioli, and I think I was 19 or 20. I was supposed to be out of the house, move out. Not supposed to be at home getting fed by mom. But I decided to complain about that mustaccioli. She let me have it. I mean, in just 3 or 4 words, I knew I was done for. How dare I? And I never really got over that little exchange. I never personally apologized to her for taking her for granted. but I'm pretty sure she knew. You know, about the religion thing, she got into mysticism and various things, tarot cards and whatnot. I don't think she ever lost touch with, you know, her monotheistic baseline that she had. And, you know, you can believe in God and still think that mystical things are possible. And I think that Sierra Madre, which is my nickname for mom, she was such a good person that there's no way that she's not in heaven right now. And I looked for her after she passed. And, you know, she didn't speak back to me. I kind of felt a little bit ripped off when she passed, you know. Not to put a bad note on things, but she left too soon. It was kind of sudden, you know. She was fine, and then a couple months later, it was all over. And I'm still having, that's why I've got a bunch of sketchy notes in where I still haven't processed this, you know. I don't know how to grieve correctly. But Macy said something about numbers. I think I'm kind of in that stage. I'm not quite done crying about it, but it's good to see all these people here that knew and loved her, and there are so many more. She touched so many people. Anyway, I love my mom.
I get nervous speaking in front of people, so, and excuse me if my thoughts are a little broken. Some of the favorite times that I had with my mother were, I'm on vacation. She absolutely loved to hop in a car and go on little adventures. And I got to have some of them with her, and my children got to have some of them with her. We would sometimes just drive through California and go to Monterey, and there are photographs that I have at home of Baron and Nana laying on a hotel bed, and next to them was a mountain of saltwater taffy wrappers. It was so insane how much taffy they ate that she had colorful things coming out of her like a week. She was good at traveling, and we went together to Puerto Vallarta with the kids, and she was always a goer. Like, it was late at night, she did not want to go to bed, she wanted to walk around town, and we did the same thing in London and, you know, various parts of the United States. She was such an avid traveler that she would go off just on a road trip by herself. She'd be home one day, and then, where's mom? She's in stinking Utah. And, you know, I think many of you have seen her photographs over the years from her little runarounds. And I value those so much.
And I have, many photographs at home with my mother traveling with the kids. And I was lucky that she instilled this adventurous spirit in me, because I'll always carry that now. And my life will be higher quality because she taught me how to get in a car, book flights, book hotels, run around and find, charming spots to frolic in. One time, though, I was a little worried about her. When we were in Puerto Vallarta, the drop off on the beach kind of like is a steep one. Well, she was out there holding Baron, and he was kind of young. We were swimming with him. He was big enough to kind of swim, so he was safe. But she was bouncing up and down in the water, and her boobs exploded up on the top. The high saline content in the water just made them really buoyant. She was totally unfazed by that. Some of us might feel mortified or embarrassed. She just thought it was hilarious. And it was. She really, when we were young children, she really prioritized our personal development. Dancing, swimming, writing poetry. When I told her I wanted to just, when I went to college, I said, I want to get a bachelor in English because I love literature. And I thought she would maybe say, that's not really going to get you the kind of lifestyle you might like to have. But she totally supported it. I said, well, I don't know what I'll do for a job after. She says, well, you'll just get your teaching credential afterward and go be a teacher. And it was the best advice I ever had, because in teaching, I experienced purpose. And so she led me down a road that gave me a purpose in life. And then that purpose led me down the road to get my psychology degree and do something even more that makes my life feel like I have value and that meaningful things are happening to me. And I wouldn't have had that if she had discouraged me. Both of my parents have had this quality of really prioritizing the development of their children. And I feel like I'm very lucky to have had Myrl Jeffcoat as a mother, and I'm also very lucky to have John Jeffcoat as a father.
My brother Ryan, another one of Nana's grandchildren, is on the phone over here, so I'm going to see if this works out. We tested it yesterday to connect the phone to the microphone, so he has a few words to say. Say hi to Ryan, everybody.
Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
Sweet, okay. Just keep holding it like that, Macy, and hopefully it won't be too long. Good afternoon, everyone. I first want to thank everyone who has taken the time to come together and celebrate the life of my grandmother, Myrl, and support our family. In the last few months, it's been really heartwarming to see the impact she's made on so many of the friends she's gathered from so many places to share her life with. I've tried to write and rewrite what I'd like to say so many times in the last week or so, but I'm really not a good enough writer, storyteller to do justice and truly capture the person that Nana was. So instead of trying to tell a story or describe the impact she's had on my life perfectly, I'm just going to bumble through what I think is one of the most cherished things that I've learned from Nana, with the hope that you might get something out of it too. The thing that Nana has passed on to me that I think about her the most, which I think that she's probably passed on to her other grandchildren as well, is a love of stories and their characters. I really just not get enough of watching reading, or listening to stories, and a good one is really one of my favorite things in life. What I've come to appreciate as I've contemplated Nana and the stories she's endowed us with is the value and impact that it can have upon us. If you look at what humanity seems to spend so much of our free time and money on, you might think of things like food and entertainment. While the former topic is definitely one which held a big place in Nana's life, I did not get the good cooking genes, so we'll have to leave that for someone else to look into. But if you look into the latter point of entertainment, you may wonder what it actually is that is so captivating about the movies, the TV shows, the sports, games, books, podcasts, and music that draws so many of us to them and often draws us together. I think the common thread is there's something so engaging about a good story with good characters. Now, I'm not going to go try to fully dissect why this is, but we all just seem to be drawn to and interested in the journeys, the triumphs, the struggles, the humor, sadness, and ultimately growth that can be experienced by following along with the characters' paths through a story, whether it's a linebacker in the NFL or a hobbit from the Shire. The thing I found Nana taught me, not explicitly, but just by being Nana, is that these stories aren't just on our VHS tapes and CDs and Netflix and TV, although those can be really good, but they're also in our daily lives. And the characters aren't just Merlin and Willow and Jack Sparrow, but they're the people we share our worlds with and ourselves too. And while yes, some of the biggest stories can be grand adventures to far-off lands, if you take the time to be present, be yourself, and soak up the world around you with the people you share it with, even small things that don't seem like they should be a big deal can still make for a wonderful, if short, story. Some of my favorite books are merely compilations of simple, inconsequential short stories. Nana taught me that small things like a lunch outing, a walk down to the river, or even a quiet afternoon sat on the patio watching the world go by can be so valuable and fill life with so much contentment when we learn to recognize and appreciate the paragraphs they add to the chapters of our own stories. And sometimes they're even worth a blog post. Moreover, just by being ourselves and being present, we have the power to add depth to the stories being forged by the individuals around us and to appreciate the depth that these individuals add to our own. And I think everyone agree with me when I say that Nana was definitely one of the biggest characters in our lives. And I'm lucky to have been a character in hers as well. In summary, I guess I just want to say that I'm thankful for Nana having taught me to appreciate my story, whether it's an adventure or a little tranquil slice of life or a misfortune to be grappled with, and not to be afraid to be a bit of a character, at least sometimes. I know she's off in another chapter, enjoying whatever vacation she's on this time, and I'm always going to cherish the memories of all the things that came before, one of her many taglines. So anyway, that's the story. Thank you.
Can you tell the story of you and Nana getting pulled over in
I'm not gonna, again, I did not inherit the good storytelling gene, but long story short, Nana flew out. I went to school in Atlanta, Georgia. Nana decided she was going to fly out. We were going to go on a road trip to see a bunch of pirate places on the East Coast. So we went to Savannah, Georgia, and Charleston, and all up and down that area. And at one point, we were driving down South Carolina in our rental car, listening to some Spanish guitar, and jamming out, and not paying attention to the speed limit signs. Apparently at some point we had pulled on, we had gone from 65 to 55, and Nana was probably doing about 70. And we got pulled up, I think at one point we were talking about Super Troopers or something like that. And anyway, timely enough, we get pulled over, and we pull over, make our way over, and I'm, we're in a rental car, so I got my head down, looking through the glove box for all the papers the window, and as the officer walks up, she turns to the window, she gives him a big wide grin, she says, "Well, good afternoon, officer." Pauses for a second, and begins to absolutely just cackle one of the biggest Nana cackles ever right in his face. And I tell you what, there was no chance we were getting out of that ticket. And you know what she said after all is said and done, he answered the ticket. It's just a couple $100, I think. And I was like, "Gee, Nana, I'm real sorry." And she's like, she turns to me, she says, "You know what? We're not going to worry about it right now. We're on vacation." And have a great time.
Kind of being around everybody and hearing the stories is like a lightning rod of memory. And just kind of seeing all the faces that I've met throughout my past. And I just want to share a quick little story with some feelings and then a really funny story about that you guys will get why. So I got a kind of a fun opportunity. I had 2 sets of incredibly loving and kind and fun grandparents. And somewhere along our journey, I found out that I have yet another set of grandparents. And in fact, a beautiful grandmother. And I remember being a little kid, and we had found out and we talked about it, and my mom did her best to give me a pep speech about what I was walking into. But we go to this cute little hobbit hole of a house. There's plants everywhere, and I remember probably feeling the buzz of her. I'm a little empathic gremlin at the time, and I could feel my mom's energy. And I remember that door opened, and the person that I saw on the opposite side was this full of smiles, loving, kind, and gracious human being that swept me up immediately and hugged me and gave me the grand tour of a house that I would spend the next couple years really getting to know, as my mom would drop me off and I got to hang out with her. And I remember being in the backyard, and I had a set of rabbits. One of them had an inappropriate name, which I won't share, but at the time I didn't know that it was an inappropriate name, and she kept joking about it. And as an adult I went, wow, I shouldn't have named it that. But yeah, she was on the dirt with me. She would crawl around. She was playful. The people that came and spent time with me were a reflection of her as a person. I remember an incredibly tall human being putting me on the ceiling, and she would sit in a chair and laugh at me as I was both full of joy but also terrified because I'd never been on a ceiling before. But that was kind of the dichotomy of being around her. In the kitchen, loving on me, and I just felt like I gained this really incredible, loving family member that I didn't have before. And that could have went a lot of ways. It could have been awkward, it could have been it wasn't, but she just never allowed that time and distance between when we met her to ever be anything. But I eventually became an ornery teen, and you got to rebel against your family and your parents for some of us, and kind of became estranged, didn't see her much, and did that for a lot of the family. And eventually got a house in Rancho Cordova, and I started to become a member at a gym. And I was working out because I was tough, and I'm sitting in the steam room, and this very beautiful woman said that I had Michael Phelps physique. And it instantly gets in my head, and I'm like, I'm the best swimmer ever now. I instantly know how to swim. And this was before his pot conspiracy stuff. And he obviously got ripped of his title. But so I'm now becoming a professional swimmer as of the next day. I go get the shorts. I get the the whole outfit. I get the thing to cover my nose. I'm greased up in sunblock, so I'm lubed up if anyone sees me with my Michael Phelps body. And I jump in the water, and I'm swimming. And there's this lady who's next to me with her cap and her everything. And I'm like, you know what? I'm smoking this lady. I wasn't the best person back then. And so I beat her on like the first lap, and I do the flip, and I whack myself on the side. And then there she is, I'm beating her. And after about 2 or 3 laps, this woman overtakes me. And my dreams of being a professional athlete from one day of training slowly start to dissipate and fade. So I get out, and I eventually plot myself egocentrically on something, and I bask in my own sadness. And here this woman with just a massive rack gets out of the pool, and she pulls off her stuff, and there's Myrl. So Myrl and I got to reconnect, and we got to hang out, and we got to kind of just talk, and I said, I'm sorry I haven't seen you a lot, and we saw a few times after that. But hearing the stories about her swimming, and that memory really wasn't even in my head anymore, but that's her. I mean, you talk about a spirit, it's just that here I am trying my absolute darndest, but her in her natural grace, she just crushes all adversaries. One thing last little bit is that I was a hairstylist for a couple years, and one of the things that people open up were called therapists. And therapists have a tendency to open and talk. And there's a lot of people that have lost family members that sit in that chair. And one of the most consistent and disheartening things to me is that when a matron or a leader of a family leaves, there's all kinds of disruption. There's a new hierarchy. People get hurt, people show up, people don't show up, and people start to kind of bicker. And one of the things that over the years of working with particular clients that I've heard, you guys all now have to take care of each other. Someone new will eventually rise to the surface as the leader of the clan, and everyone will do as she obviously was. But please, please, please be loving and kind to each other, and patient as you all heal at different levels. Patient with each other as you have your own different level of commitment to the new empire that you're going to build as new young ones come underneath you. And just please continue to love everyone. And if you guys ever need anything, our family is always there for you as much as we always can be. And thank you for letting me do my spiels.
Yeah.
I got to spend a lot of time with Nana the past 5 years, and the adventures, we went on adventures and everything, and she helped me quit smoking. She got me the patch, and I quit smoking, and I'll be darned if I ever do that again.
Yeah.
You know, right? So that was, she's like my superhero. She's always been this like immortal, angelic being to me, and she's just awesome. I want everyone to know that she was more than, you know, you didn't get to spend a lot of time with her. She was this awesome, crazy lady, and that's all I had to say.
They're about to come and say something. Thank you. So I too have known these beautiful people since I was first born. My Uncle John, remember when he went off to war? And Bonnie was always coming over to visit. And then Bonnie married him. And then Aunt Myrl was in the picture. But we knew Aunt Myrl too because of living on Bret Harte Court and going to visit. And it was all the neighbors. They all would visit each other. They all loved each other. But one of the amazing things is that our families, my dad was 10 years older than John, and so our families, when we were all little, were very close. And a very important person that you all don't know very well, and I'm not sure you knew at all, was Francie, which was Myrl's mother. And Francie and my mom, Cordelia, and Aunt Myrl, they just loved each other. They loved to cook together, they loved to do it, so probably Aunt Myrl didn't have to cook too much because Francie and Mom did it. And we always had holidays together, we always had 4th of July, and I remember was very close when Francie died, and she'd gone up to Alaska to visit her other daughter up there, and all of a sudden she was diagnosed with cancer and was gone in a few weeks. And it wasn't long after that that my mom tragically died. So Aunt Myrl and I were very close, and we're very, what do you call it? Very, we're going through the pain of what you all are going through and I'm going through of missing them. But they're together and they're having a good time. And my brother's with them too, and my dad, and you know, all the pain of what we go through in life and all the joys. The pain doesn't matter anymore, and all they have is joy. And they're all having a party that someday we'll get to.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
So Bonnie over here is my sister, and John and Bonnie and Myrl, we all got together. I was 9 years old. Bonnie was 12, and Myrl was 12. I don't know how old you were, John, when I met you.
Well, I was the old man.
And he was next. He lived next door. 14. Yeah, he's an old man. He's 14. So that's all I have to say. No, that's not me. But I have to ask. I missed your name with all the hair. Is that your real hair?
Yeah.
Holy mackerel.
For now. I'll hang on to it.
That's pretty amazing. That's very cool. So who's your hairdresser?
Known me for a couple years. Since we were on the show.
But my first impression of Myrl was walking down the street, and I saw a skinny girl walking down the street, and she ended up being my babysitter. I guess Bonnie wasn't there because Bonnie was kind of, our mom worked at Safeway, and so there were four of us. There was my little sister Sue, my brother Steve, and me, and then Bonnie. And so Bonnie was kind of taking care of us a lot of the time. My mom was off at work. And then Mom married a guy. And there were 5 kids to take care of. And then she married another guy, and there were still 5 kids to take care of. Because she always married guys that just couldn't take care of themselves. And like I said, Myrl, she came down and she took care of us. And I remember one of the babysitters beating me with a stick. Now, I probably deserved it, and I don't remember if it was Myrl or not. But she was such a kind person. And
That was me.
oh. Okay, so now I know who to blame. But, you know, we grew up, we didn't see a lot of Myrl. Bonnie, you just mentioned that there's usually a hierarchy in the family. And you've got a person who holds the family together. And I and my wife volunteered for hospice for a long time. And actually, no, it was a short time. But we learned something in there. We did it so we could help others, and found that we were doing more for ourselves than we were doing for others. But one of the things we learned is when the matriarch of the family passes on, if they don't pass that gift of keeping people together, the whole family leaves, they go away, and they never get back together again. And it's such a sad thing to happen, and it happens so much more today than ever before. So that really is an important thing for one of the children. And Myrl, I mean, watching all you kids up here, Myrl was so gifted. I mean, and John, you've got some great kids. They're loving, caring. So I'll go back a ways. So John was my next door neighbor. And so his mom and dad, I got to know them well. And I'll tell a little story about your mom, Doris. So he had a friend that used to drive a truck, and he used to haul different merchandise. And I remember he dropped off hard liquor, and it was 200 proof stuff. And I don't know where I remember this and everything, but I go over to the house, and Doris has it. I go into the dining room. We kind of just walked in and out of each other's houses, and there Doris was sitting on the floor, and she was drinking this 200 proof stuff. I don't think she realized how strong it was, but she was drunk. I mean, I'm a little kid still, and here's the lady next door just really cranking it up next door, partying all by herself, and it's John's mom. Now, Bonnie may want to correct me with some of these things. You get this old, your mind kind of goes. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, a lot of times Bonnie and I would stand up here together and we'll talk about singing, play these things off against each other. But Myrl was such a wonderful person and everything, but like I just said, the family she raised, that's what made her special.
My name is Jose. I'm the son-in-law of Myrl. If you guys have problem understanding what I'm saying because of my accent, Google Translate can help. But something that is very interesting when I met Tammy is she told me that she was a swimmer, and I am too. I swam for many years, and I even was able to represent my state in Colombia. So that was very interesting to hear. And also, one of the things is when Myrl was like swimming too, to me was surprising because because my grandmother used to swim too until she couldn't do it anymore. And one of the things that I remember with Myrl is like when the first time that I went to a Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is something that doesn't happen in Colombia. The closest that we have to something like that is Christmas, and same thing, we ate a lot of food and that kind of stuff. When I went to Thanksgiving and I saw the food over there, I just couldn't help myself to say, oh, well, great. This is the right grandma. It's a lot of food and I'm swimming. And people who know swimming, you eat a lot and you still get skinny. And the only thing that I can say, if my mom says like, well, you just eating the food and pooping it out. So eventually, well, I started to meet the family and started to go more gatherings and trying to teach Tammy part of my culture and the food one. One day I decided to bring a dish and prepare it in the house, and that was called, in Spanish it's called pata con pisado. That really means a stepped plantain. So what you do, just peel the green plantain, get it on piece, fry it, get it out, and step on it.
Step on it?
You step on it. Of course, you have to put a plastic wrap. So when Myrl was saying that I was doing that, she was kind of surprised and telling me, how am I going to eat that? It's just stepping on it. It's like, and I told her, you're going to, it's just plastic on it. And she was kind of not believing what I'm saying. And finally she tried it and she's like, oh, it is good. It's good that you choose there. Like, it was pretty good. And that's one of the things that I remember about her. She tried that. And later in life, with her, she one day surprised me telling me, I'll learn Spanish. And that's something that to me, it was kind of interesting. I don't know what was the reason that she really wanted to do it, but she was, every time that she sees me, she's trying to practice with me some Spanish. And that was great. To me, it's great because I saw somebody who was really interested in learning the language that I was able to learn, or I was born with. And that helped me to feel a little better because she was speaking a kind of broken Spanish and my English wasn't better than that sometimes. And made me feel like, oh great, so that's two people speaking different language in the house, so that's great. Because I tried to teach Tammy, but she said, nah, I speak English, I don't need that. That was kind of one of the things that I liked about it. And she was telling me, hey, I learned with Duolingo, I went to the store, I asked for this, I learned how to do it. And I tried to teach her the little differences in speaking it. It was amazing about that part, because that was a time before people started to talk about cultural appropriation. So I think it was great that she was learning another language. And that surprised me a lot, because a person of that age, I never saw somebody going to learn another language. Besides that, there are other things I remember about her that was amazing to me. The first time that I saw her, those blue eyes, man. It's like a movie thing that I saw. It's like completely like that kind of blew my mind because I've seen it in movies, you know? You see that and it looks like something that you cannot believe it. I was in Colombia. In Colombia, we don't have people with blue eyes very often to see. And also the streets, going to the house, looking at this house that looks like a movie house with the chimney, the people in the table with a lot of people in that Thanksgiving, people passing the fruits and everything. To me, was kind of a movie thing. Some people, you guys are used to that. It means like, wow, it was great. especially the food, because I was able to eat a lot. And I have problems and eating one of the things that I really like about her, like she did a lot, is she's when I asked Tammy the first time, who cooked us the food? Because in my country, 1 or 2 people cook the food for everyone. And she said, oh, my mom, but we break things, and we told us, oh, your mom is great. That is going to keep me here with you. So the pumpkin pies, the pies. I don't know about you, but we don't have pies over there. It's something amazing to be able to enjoy something that's simple and brings so much, how to say, gratification or feel the love, because my culture too is like that. It's like we express love through food. We give people food, we care about people through food, because the grandma always sees you. You can be weighing, and your weight can be 300 pounds, and she's going to tell you, you're skinny. You look skinny, you need to eat something. And I felt that way with Myrl, because she saw me in the first, she didn't say anything that I was skinny. She just told me, do you want to eat something? And she was like that, oh, there is some snacks over there, just appetizer, you can eat it. Because I don't know what her intuition was, but she's like thinking, I think she was thinking like, you drove a lot, you are eating, you need to eat, and you are in the car with my daughter. So that's going to help me to feel better. I mean, it was great, to be honest. There are things that I can see through Tammy that probably was part of because she tells me sometimes the stories about Myrl and John. And that made me think that it was great, in the sense that those family values. In my family, where I was raised, it is important for us. And I seeing that kind of person, that kind of people that their family is, Tammy's family is, makes me feel like, oh, that's great. That's something that it cannot be replaced, it cannot be forgotten. And there are other things that that I wanted to share about her. The first time that I went to the swimming pool in John's, and she sees me, and the only thing that she can tell me after seeing with no glasses on me and my long hair is like, oh, you're the Latin Jesus. And that was kind of funny. And I feel honored too, because it's just like, oh my God, that's cultural. It's like, oh my God, talking about Jesus is like, wow. I didn't have the opportunity to talk to her too much, in the sense, because she always was busy when we were there, doing food and everything. But I was able to see through her actions what kind of person she was. And I see it through her children and the relationship. That's something that's so funny, the relationship between her and John after a divorce. In my country, if you divorce, you're out. Get out of here. It's like you are Satan. So, but that relationship, that's something that I never saw in my life. And it was kind of amazing to see that. Something that really, really surprised me. But at the same time, told me something. How to have a relationship with a person that you used to be married and together. That told me that it's something that I didn't know in the beginning. Because in my culture, we don't see it. And I learned other things from her that I didn't think about it until now, people that I mentioned it.
And Patria and her are very good friends too.
Yeah, that's true. Something that I never saw, that being able to have a good relationship, that's great. You mentioned it. A good relationship with a new partner, a new wife, or you as husband. I never saw that until I was able to be in this family. And for that, I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful to be able to be in this family with my wife. I'm grateful for all the things that she did for me, because in a way she did a lot of things for me without not knowing, but also she did a lot of stuff for the people that are here. Thank you.
Like I've said before, and I think everybody feels it, once you come into Nana's life, you're her family. No matter where you came from, if you're related to her or not, you're her family. And I think that's a really important value that I want to carry on from what she taught me. One of the things that I want to finish this off with is reading her obituary that she wrote for herself. Because if there was one thing about Nana, it was she was never going to be told what to do. And she was going to do it her way. And of course she wrote her own obituary, which I think would be nice for us all to listen to right now. So, as written by Myrl Jeffcoat in her own colorful words. Myrl Carlene Jeffcoat of Sacramento shuffled off this planet for the next great adventure, if not in life, the afterlife. Her departure on January 6, 2025 became necessary as her aged body, encapsulating her spirited soul, was in need of replacement. She was 81 years old. Myrl's family consists of 4 children: Jill Jeffcoat, Dutra of Orangeville, Tammy Jeffcoat of Reno, Randy Jeffcoat of Rancho Cordova, and Valerie Reese of Citrus Heights. She was also the grandmother of 7. Myrl was preceded in death by her uterus and ovaries in January 1989. She managed to keep her tonsils, adenoids, and appendix. Although a lifelong resident of Greater Sacramento region, Myrl was born in Parsons, Kansas. However, she often remarked that being born in Kansas was an accident, that anything which happened at all in Kansas was an accident. She was a local real estate professional and member of the Sacramento Association of Realtors since 1981. There will be no viewing since her family will likely refuse to allow her to wear her pirate hat. Cremation will take place at the family's convenience, and her ashes will be kept in an empty rum bottle until the next Talk Like a Pirate Day in September, when a memorial is planned aboard a high-masted ship set sail on warm waters, ashes to be interred at sea. Only pirate dress will be tolerated at this ceremony. Those who remember Myrl are asked to celebrate her life in their own way. Raising a glass of good wine, ale, or rum in her memory would be appropriate. Instead of flowers, Myrl would hope that you do an unexpected and unsolicited act of kindness for someone in need in her name. And finally, in your program, there's a little thing on the second page. It's a Celtic funeral blessing that I would like to share with you all. Flesh and bone made from dust and dirt, the time now comes, return to earth. A life of love and joy lived in full, the wheel of life now made whole. I honor you now as your soul moves on, sailing free on the tides of a new dawn. I do not run from my grief and pain, both gentleness and strength, my soul holds the same. I shall not let my heart turn to stone, with memories held close, I will never walk alone. I do not linger too long on sorrow, I will surely see your soul tomorrow. In the movement of the swaying tree, and the glistening sparkle of the sea. Ashes to ashes and dust to dust, so we become as the wheel turns for us. And so life might end right where it began. Mary met, Mary parted, and where Mary we may meet again.